I'm looking at this truck and it's a great truck. We're lucky to have it. And this is something especially interesting to review because a little over a year ago, we had this truck in for believe it or not, for the rust preventive treatment that was applied to all the areas, including the frame. If I put my hand on it, you can see it applied right here. You see how I'm rubbing it off? And you can see this is the same coating that we have over here, except here it held up really, really nice. It was done, as I said, over a year ago, and obviously we removed the splash shields. So you will have a legitimate question. So what happened to this frame? Why it's so rusty? Well, yes, a little over a year later, we had the vehicle here for the underbody inspection because you have to monitor it. You cannot just do the rust proofing treatment and totally forget about it. You still need to monitor everything. And we noticed that there's some peeling going on, like you would see things like this just coming off. What we realized that this vehicle and apparently other GMs, they have factory undercoating applied to bare metal. There's no primer, there's no paint. It was just sprayed on. So when we saw the vehicle over a year and a half ago, the frame looked nice. There was this undercoating throughout and it looked good, and we poked in different places and it looked awesome. So what we're seeing now, we're seeing the factory undercoating is coming off the frame. There's rust under there. And of course, the rust preventive treatment that we applied on top of that undercoating is coming off loose. So what we're doing now, we're doing massive amount of work, and we are determining the areas where the factory undercoating is peeling. We're removing all that throughout the frame. I'm going to show you pretty much this whole frame that we're working on. It's massive amount of work. You can see we removed all the splash shields, and you can see the stuff. We're going to look at this together. Look at this. So this is the undercoating, and this one came off. It was sitting on a clean, non-rusted area. We still took it off just to make sure. And yet there's another undercoating that looks good on the outside, and yet when you flip it on the inside, it has rust because it started to rust underneath the factory undercoating. So you can see here what we're doing, and this area is a good example. You can see that this was rusting, and here the factory undercoating was still sitting on a good solid unrusted metal. So what we're doing now, we're scraping everything off and making sure there's no factory undercoating left where there is rust under it. And then there's a reasonable question. So how do we know it's not going to rust here? So we're doing as much scraping as possible. And at this point, it is a 2016 vehicle. So if it didn't get rusty here, it's probably not going to get rusty. We're still going to monitor it. And you can see we have the rear bumper off for better access, and we're cleaning all this out. After all, at this stage, it's a surface rust only. There's no rust damage, but it is a surface rust. If you leave it alone, it is going to eat this frame like there's no tomorrow. And so right now you can see how we're scraping it, not only the rust area, but we're going to the outside to make sure we get enough of the fresh metal. So this here, the same thing, that's being cleaned. Over here, check that out, that's being cleaned. We're not going to leave a 1 square inch untouched, but as you can see, we've done it on the truck bed, on the cab, and all the protective coatings that we applied to the panels like this. It looks awesome. There's not a speckle of rust, It looks absolutely awesome. We also feel it's the same way. We're gonna double check because we sprayed it inside the rocker panels, inside the doors, inside the quarter panels and fenders, inside the truck tailgate. So we're still going to check all that, but so far there are no indications of any issues in those areas, just on the frame where the factory undercoating did not hold up at all. So that's something that from now on we're gonna be very, very careful, and we'll be inspecting it much more thoroughly and doing probably more prep work on these GM vehicles where the undercoating was applied to bare metal. Otherwise, this truck looks awesome, great vehicle. And you're gonna see it obviously later in this video. So when you're looking at this video, we already put all this massive amount of work. So it's always fun to watch these videos, but what you can see 2 minutes later in the video sometimes takes 20 hours in the shop. Keep that in mind. Yeah, this is a nice truck with the Cummins diesel with Allison transmission and impeccable body and some nice comfy leather interior with ventilated heated seats and some other cool goodies. So it's definitely all this worth doing, and we'll preserve this frame. Here's the couple of tools that we're using at this stage. Nothing special. It just takes patience, time, and dedication to get this kind of job done, and we always pull it off. We made a huge progress today, and let's see how the truck looks after we applied Würth rust converter. This is a pretty expensive product, but you certainly pay what you get what you pay for. It is it works awesome. So let's take a look. You can see there's no more orangey, rusty surfaces. We may see a couple of spots here and there that we're gonna hit tomorrow, but 99% of it all done. And the black stuff that you see is actually the rust converter, and it's not the paint. The paint and rust protective coating is going to go over it. So let's see how it looks. And we're gonna give it overnight. It has to be painted within 48 hours, and we're gonna give it overnight for the products to really work its way into the rust. This was heavily rusted surface, and as you can see, I'm scraping it, and you know, there's really, I don't see much of rust anymore, and I'm scraping it with a rather sharp edge of one of the hardware pieces. So it's gonna work even more overnight, and then tomorrow we're going to hit a couple of little spots you can see we might have missed on some enclosed areas. We're gonna do that, maybe pull up the harness here and there, and yeah, that's just dirt, that's not rust. So very thorough job so far by our technician. As you can see with the converter application, the frame and adjacent parts, they already look way, way different. And it was pretty much all day work today on it. Just the final cleaning and the product application, you can see how it's done. Very nice job. There are so many cavities here on this frame, and as I said, we were very lucky that there's no damage to the frame. It was just surface rust, a lot of it, and it is all cleaned off. And look at this, looks great. All these typical areas that eventually, a few years from now, all these brackets would be gone, completely gone. And then those are the trucks you see with structural issues. They look awesome on the outside, but on the inside, it's a complete structural mess. Yeah, I'm very happy with this outcome. It's looking great. And all the cross members are done. So we're right with tomorrow, we're gonna be ready for the product application. We masked off the underside of the pickup. You can see, let's check out the progress. Wow, looks awesome. Yeah, we pretty much detached everything from the frame rails, splash shields, to make sure we have access to everything. And it looks great. We left absolutely no rust anywhere. As you saw from previous footage, everything was cleaned off and treated with Würth rust converter. Still, for the next owner, just like if it was a brand new truck, actually this is a better rust protection than on a new truck, but you still need to keep an eye on things. So that was just the first coat we applied. And the first one we're doing, again, this is the time when we're going in and hitting all the little cavities and everywhere we can get in. The next two coats, they'll be more generous, and definitely they will be the ones providing the mechanical protection. So we're now putting finishing touches on this job. Which product is this?
It's the wax oil.
So this is a wax oil. This is very interesting stuff. It's actually non-drying, clear, penetrating solution that we spray in enclosed areas. You can see that shiny stuff, and any surface rust, it just penetrates right in, seals it up from moisture, and prevents rust from spreading. And you can see how it works. And a common question that we get asked, so how much product went in on a job like this? So we actually used 3 different products here. We used Hard Wax Plus, which is a liquid, more fluidish black solution that we sprayed initially, and then we used the original hard wax to seal off and for mechanical protection, and then we use wax oil, which I think this is the product right here, and it looks like this, and it's kind of like, you can see the consistency, and it's penetrating. So with this, we're spraying it into cavities like that, into anything you can see right here, it goes in, and it is an incredibly effective approach when we do it. Yeah, and you can see he's spraying it on that side. It comes out from here, so it's working. And we've seen vehicles that we've done years ago, and here in New England, they've been on the road in this ugly, chemically sprayed road conditions, and they all hold up. So now with these final stages, we will then reassemble, we'll install the splash shields, the wheels, and all of that.